We'll call to order the May 27th special meeting of the City Council. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Fritsch previously informed me she'd not be here this evening. Rudy Schar. Mike Foster.
Here.
Ed Grundon.
Here.
Steve Kirkovich.
Here. All right, we'll turn it over.
Yep. Aaron, you're up.
Hi, I'm Aaron Kramer, City Administrator for the City of Prairie du Chien. And our computer is still not working.
No.
Yeah, so what's new? Computers never.
I say, didn't you have a problem in Prairie with?
A little. We had a little bit of an issue, but I'm sure it'll get worked
This is
out.
my family. I always bring them along.
Really, they came with the picture in the frame. He just photoshopped himself.
Where's that, at the Mall of America, or where is that?
Where's your mom?
It's not recognized.
Yeah, wherever that was, it was lovely.
That was in Vegas
Vegas.
It's
at the
everything's
Bellagio.
Family goes there every year.
That part's working. It's on your computer.
Well, we could introduce ourselves, if you like, while we're dealing with technical difficulties.
That's fine, Bob. It's
Control Alt Delete always works for me.
It's not recognized.
Seated to the right of me is Bob Moses. He is the president of the Prairie du Chien Area Chamber of Commerce. And I stress the word area because it includes more than just the city of Prairie du Chien. We have members from McGregor and Marquette, Iowa, across the river and the surrounding area. So it truly is an area chamber of commerce. Located on the gateway to the beautiful state of Iowa and vice versa, people coming in from Iowa to Wisconsin past the Tourism Information Center / Chamber, which is very, very heavily used. What were your numbers last year?
A little over 38,000.
38,000 visitors to that. Seated to the left of me is Linda Munson. She hired me. I like her. She was on the city council when I came to Prairie du Chien in 2010. She decided to retire from public service. And the mayor quickly appointed her to the library board, where last week we announced plans for a $3 million library expansion. So her public service retirement is over. And now we have to raise $1.5 million. Seated to the left of Linda is Drew Johnson, superintendent of the Prairie du Chien Area School District. Drew, how long have you been superintendent?
8 years in Prairie. It's be starting 9th year in July.
Prairie du Chien, in case you may have not heard, but we'll let you know, recently the 26th best rated high school in the state of Wisconsin. So we're all proud of that fact. And home to the Blackhawks. Seated to the left is Bob McDonald, computer, I'm looking for the adjective. Did you get it worked out?
It's working.
Computer expert.
Use that very loosely.
He is the president, CEO, CFO of the Prairie du Chien Economic Development Corporation. We have a very good working relationship in Prairie du Chien between the chamber, the city, and our EDC when it comes to economic development. So all five of us were here. Those that could not attend were our city planner, Garth Frabel, David Conley, who is the executive director of Crawford County Economic Development Corporation. And those two individuals couldn't make it. So, are we ready, Bob?
Ready when you are, sir.
Okay. It was a cold November day. It was cold. November 11th. It was a Tuesday. When Granny, Mr. Drysdale, Jed Clampett, Jethro, and, Ellie Mae got in the car and came to Lake Mills. We had randomly picked the day out. It worked for everybody's schedule, and we spent most of the day just quietly driving around the town. I did some role-playing with a couple of your business owners. Telling them I was relocating from Clintonville. I remember that. My wife didn't want to live in Madison. It was too busy. She wanted a beautiful, quiet town. She found this, and I was doing the research for her. So that was my role playing. And then we had, we actually broke up into two groups. And some of us focused on the residential downtown commercial, another group focused on the industrial and the educational. Next slide, please, Robert. Initial impressions. Coming into the community, it was very impressive. The clock tower, to be honest with you, caught our attention as soon as we walked in. Essentially because everybody's head turned and said, why don't we have one of those? We really thought that stood out. That sort of set a tone as we came into the community. that it just conveyed that message of Lake Mills when we came into the community. As far as the ease of information, we had one person call and pose as a vacationer. We had our economic development team pose as a team looking to locate a business in Lake Mills. Different, again, role-playing models to lead into it. We were also impressed by the school system from the research that we had done prior to the meeting. That is one of the summary comments from one of our team members. Is I'll be honest with you, the library. As I told you in the beginning, we're doing a major $3 million expansion of an existing 50-year-old library. So as soon as we saw the library here, you ran. It was like the Roadrunner. Her feet never hit the ground. She wanted to get into that library and
Take it home.
bring your mic up, share the experience. You're on the council, you know how this works.
Okay.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
I couldn't really believe you had a 3-story library, because when we were looking at libraries, we were trying to figure out how to do that and still staff them with the number of people we have. But you managed it very well. It was very informative. In fact, as a result of visiting your library, we are now trying to get pages in our library based on your program, because you told us so much about it. We thought it was a great program. So I love it.
Just on that, Linda and I both were in different groups, and we both came back with the same idea because we serve on the library board together, and we both talked about the pages. So it's a pretty neat program you have, and we're going to hopefully copy that. So, and the library is beautiful.
We did have a little problem finding City Hall in the Chamber of Commerce. And I think our initial, as we were driving into town, it was me in the driver's seat and Linda was sitting next to me. And there were several times where she'd go, turn here. I'm like, it's too late. Well, the signs are too small. I can't read the signs. The wayfaring signs, especially in your downtown area, were hard, especially when you got to the intersections and the print was so small. We had, I think we did at least 2 laps around the square, it's not a square, but the green space. And it took us a little while to find City Hall. You're the chamber director, and you couldn't find the chamber.
I noticed the beautiful building when we approached out here in the front, but I was amazed that I could not actually find any signage for the Chamber of Commerce until we got up almost to the very front of the door. And then right there's the little Chamber of Commerce on the bottom. It was very difficult to read. And I was kind of disappointed that we wouldn't actually have that kind of signage, when we entered the community, just so we kind of know how to get to the Chamber of Commerce to look for that information. That way we can actually help support the businesses.
We heard the same thing from your team that came to Prairie du Chien. Our signage needs help, so maybe we should put our heads together and come up with a good formula that works. We have obviously a road construction issue when you came through, and now I'm hearing people saying, how do we fix the signs in Prairie? Who's paying for it? So, we've got that problem to deal with right now. But your signage was difficult in the downtown. It was hard for us. And I like beer. Our team had a difficult time finding your brewery. We assumed that would be a tourism destination. We would see signs pointing to it saying, here's the brewery, tours, and I think, Bob, didn't you have a GPS and you were having a hard time?
Navigation in my son's vehicle, and we were parked in the middle of the street, and we were looking all over for it. It said we had that was our destination, but we couldn't find it. So we went dry that day.
Alas.
Yes.
What's the format for asking questions?
Whenever you'd like.
I think you can just go ahead and ask a question whenever it strikes you.
I have a question. Pertaining to the last one, in both cases, the signage was noted to be somewhat unclear. I assume you're talking about the Highway 89, the south and the north end. And I guess I have a specific question is, now you saw the clock tower. You had excellent comments, positive comments for that. But on the right in front of Quick Trip is Welcome to Lake Mills sign. The same sign is on the south end. Could you comment on those 2 signs? Did they, that was a major commitment to put those 2 signs up. delineating that you're entering our city, and they were gateway signs, and
They're very nice. They're very impressive. They did jump out. One question, several team members, and I actually drove past Lake Mills on Monday on the way to another brewer loss, and one of my passengers in the car, you have, I don't know if you consider it a welcome sign, but there's that tower that's out there by the highway that says Lake Mills on it, that's kind of out in the middle of nowhere. And we were wondering, what is that? I mean, are you planning ahead, the city's gonna grow out to there and you're gonna be, it just kind of stuck there and
I think you're talking about the back of the market, the Lake Mills Market.
okay, maybe that's,
There's
it's just,
signage, yeah.
it's a
actually-
tower, it's like the clock tower without a clock. And
Yep.
we didn't know if that was a welcome to Lake Mills, if this were the, you start or not. The welcome to Lake Mills signs were very impressive. They obviously convey, stability, investment, pride. The 6 blocks ahead downtown, historic downtown, really, that's one of those where if you were looking at it, you're going to pick up on it, but it didn't jump out. In fact, I missed it the first time, and I said, I think we're going to hit the downtown if we go down this street. There wasn't something that really said, grabbed you to go to the downtown, like something that grabbed you, welcome to Lake Mills when you came in. The signs we were referring to was your, right past the, what was the one, right past the newspaper, wasn't it? You have one, it's on the right-hand side, it's on a pole, and it's got like 7 locations, and the print is so small. I mean, literally, you have to pull up and hope you're in the right lane. You can't make them out. And especially on that day, I mean, it was rainy and it was foggy. I mean, it was just so the signage jumped out. The other, who went to the industrial park? What was the signage? I know there were some comments on that too, Bob, wasn't there?
Yeah, the signs, I think, were kind of small, for one thing. Were they temporary? I guess they kind of had the appearance that they're temporary.
There's some low signage, Bob, as you enter the industrial park. There's some kind of low-to-the-ground type signage
Right,
that does
okay.
say industrial park on it, but didn't grab your attention, though.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we thought it could have been better, a little bit better marked.
Okay, right.
We have the same problem right now in Prairie because we put up these 2 huge temporary billboards to show that we are planning a new industrial park on the north
Saw
end.
that, yep.
So, and I see one of them got bulldozed down, so. Doesn't help when you plan it right where our street's going, so.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the first 2 times, we had to have the sign taken down because the gentleman spelled words wrong in it.
Oh, dear.
We didn't find that problem here in Lake Mills. You spelled everything right that we could tell,
Far,
so.
so good.
So that was the issue, and I kind of had, our team's goal was that we weren't going to use GPS, we weren't going to use navigation, we were going to use what signs were there. And we struggled at times. Like I said, we struggled to find City Hall, and we struggled to find especially some of the buildings off to the, what direction would that be? Driving to the downtown off to the right, towards the lake. The fire department, we kind of just, there it was.
We'll definitely head back to the drawing board.
So are we, after your comments last week.
And hopefully with the city's help, we'll find the wherewithal and certainly the gumption to get a better signage for people coming through. I was just poked by my wife not to say that kind of thing.
The housing spectrum,
I do want to comment on one thing, though, is that the University Extension used our wayfaring signage as an example of how to do it right. So,
Even though it's small.
The one little sign I think they're talking about were those precursor signs to the ones that we
yeah, we
wound
left
up.
them up to try and add as much signage as we could.
Maybe we need a few more, though, with either with the same or a different design or something, just to make it more readable. We'll see,
Well, my question was regarding the 2 brick ones that we have on each end of town, and I got my answer, so thank you. You seem to like those.
That was the first question that was asked there. That's all right. As far as the housing spectrum, we came away with the impression that it was, the community had its housing needs addressed based on our observations and was starting to scale towards what we call the more expensive or the upscale. And we went through the subdivision by the golf course, yeah. And got the impression, that's where the growth was happening, that's where the new houses were going up, and they were of the 200-plus range for us. The road quality, again, welcome to the same boat we're in, was not impressive in spots. I think especially along the lakeshore, there were a couple times where it got very narrow, very difficult. But again, general wear and tear, we have the same problem in Prairie du Chien. We rattle your molars, you rattle our wisdom teeth. So, we all have the same issue. Sidewalks seem to be in good shape. We know you're talking about a bike trail. We're doing a big bike initiative in our community as well. We definitely could see where that could be a perk in this community, because you're starting to stretch almost. I mean, Prairie du Chien is very vertical. I mean, it varied because of the bluffs and the river, so we use the bike trails to tie the schools and the other public facilities in. But initially, they were not received very well when they're on the drawing stage, and now everybody loves them and wants more built. So, well, not everybody, but a lot of people, so.
Karen, I don't think that's unusual either. We are very vertical. We are very vertical to the lake, and finding those routes through the old city are difficult. It's difficult.
Yeah, the new subdivisions, no problem. Put one down last year. The old parts of the city, nobody wants them in their front yard. So, we're in the same situation as you are.
Some of our streets just an FYI kind of thing, and, the fact that our streets aren't impressive, we're the first to agree with that as council members, when the conditions of them, which the whole state is in dire straits with. Along the lake and that, sometimes it's by design, because a narrow street reduced speed, makes it a safer street.
I agree. I think our situation when we were driving around the lake is you had someone unloading, like they were moving in, and it was just very uncomfortable I have an Acadia to pull around, and I think somebody said, "Oh, look, there's the lake." Yeah, right there. So it was a little uncomfortable for us at that point. And that's where I think somebody mentioned, these streets are awful narrow for what we thought. We had the impression the lake would be one of the magnets, so everything around the lake would be, wide, pristine top, but we didn't get that with the streets in that section. Mr. Johnson, how do you talk about the education?
I have nothing to say negative. We did some advanced research by calling into the school under the guise of a family moving into the area. Secretarial staff was very professional and gave us the information we needed to register for school, and asked about the quality, and they were very positive on the school district. And schools exceed expectation on the school report card, do a very nice job. And then when we came to town, the elementary school is obviously a shining star. Just, the infrastructure in that being LEED certified and being environmentally conscious building, along with the educational quality, is just tremendous. And the middle school is remodeled, and I guess there's plans down the road to start taking a look at the high school and seeing what you could do there. So very positive on the educational system, so I'll just leave it at that.
So obviously, that would be a draw for somebody coming to the Lake Mills area, doing the research on that. Next slide, please, Robert. Health, social, and emergency services. Now, again, this is based on our observations from driving around. There didn't seem to be a primary health care facility that stood out. We come from a community that has a critical care access hospital. A brand new one's being built, opens up next week, $40-some million. We kind of thought, we might see that. We didn't, so nothing jumped out like this is, the main medical facility. As far as community clubs, again, we were kind of going off what we see in our town, the Eagles Club and VFW, Rotary. Nothing jumped out. We didn't see like signage or something that, this project was sponsored by this community group or anything. We assume they're out there, we just didn't see any evidence from driving around the community. We loved your fire department. Again, when we're about 5 to 10 years out, this is kind of what I would like to see in our community. And like I said, it really kind of jumped out. And we liked also how the police were integrated with other municipal services in one building. We don't have that. The police is, the department's over at the sheriff's department, which is separate from city hall. We're kind of scattered, where you seem to have everything in one location, which we thought would be a nice thing for us to have, but we'll trade you the building here. We just got to start negotiating, because I asked, the first question I asked Steve was, how in the world you pay for this? I mean, this thing's beautiful. It stands out. It's like the signs when you come into town. It sends a message: stability, investment, pride when you come to this building. And we noticed that with the police department and the other facilities being in the building.
And how do we pay for that? Dearly.
Well,
It's beautiful. It's in
It's
the wrong
beautiful.
spot.
well, I'm not going to go there.
Just saying,
I don't. We liked it.
it's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
And we appreciate the
Beautiful never
service.
comes cheap, though. I always tell people that. Beautiful never comes cheap.
Did you notice the EMS facility on Madison Street, where the EMS is different? It's in a different spot. I'm sorry, Lake Street. As far as the medical care, maybe somebody could speak to that from city?
Well, we don't have a primary care facility, which is a hospital. We use Fort, Watertown, and Madison. Yeah,
And we have an
even some
urgent
people-
care center over by McDonald's.
We used to. I don't know that we do anymore. Is it still open? Because the last time I went there, they told me I had to go to Fort. But we have two clinics. The Fort Atkinson related clinic, and then the Watertown related clinic, which is also.
Steve's
they both-
got young children in sports, so he's a regular.
Yeah, Monday night after a soccer tournament, one time in the emergency room, or urgent care in Watertown.
And that's the unique thing about your situation, which I have really embraced, is you guys are 1 hour from anywhere like Fort Atkinson. We are 12 miles from that urgent care center. We're never going to have the hospital facility that you have. You are totally the regional care unit for your area. And that's really cool, because that brings a lot of people in. That brings a lot of people into the Walgreens or the pharmacies, into the stores, into buying services for whatever is going on around that. And I think that in Jefferson County, we have a little bit different concept. Fort Healthcare and the UW system are both in our county, but our regional hospice care is located in Johnson Creek. And so we've kind of tried a different approach. Lake Mills is never going to be the medical center that Prairie du Chien is. And that's an enviable place for you to be.
Yeah,
And
we're
you know that.
truly blessed with a hospital and 3 clinics. We're one of the very few cities
And
in
the
western
staff
Wisconsin
that's
that
going to come,
has
and the
Mayo
people that
and
are going to
Gunderson.
come.
We were kind of looking for the perspective, and I was using the mentality, if I'm driving through Lake Mills and my wife Linda here, all of a sudden it says I feel chest pains, where would we go? And we didn't see signage. We looked for the Blue H and realized, well, there's no hospital in Lake Mills, so where would we?
That's
I was
a
on
really
the-
good point.
Yeah, where would we go? Where would, even if we were pulling off the highway, somebody was having a health issue,
Right.
where would, okay, but we didn't, okay.
Your first impression is making an impression on us.
The big issue is you should pull over and call 911.
We didn't
And
know if
then-
it was
and then
illegal
they
in
would
Jefferson
direct
County
you
to
to the
call on
right
your cell
spot.
phone while driving, so
They will
some
get you
counties
there.
are now, so.
I was on the First Impression Committee. I didn't get invited to sit up there, but I was on the First Impression Committee and came to Prairie du Chien. And when we sat down before we did, and we were looking for a
Fine.
cooperating partner in the First Impressions.
$20.
And went through and looked at the demographics and stuff. We seem to be a great fit. When I actually went and did it, my first impression was all of a sudden we'd become apples and oranges, and I don't mean that in a negative sense, because that can be a fresh perspective if used right. If we use it right, the apple and orange, comparison can be really well, because you are the hub. We're simply a bedroom community for the most part, and growing as our businesses leave town from what it was 20 years ago. So we have that total difference as seen right here in the medical conversation.
And I think we'll touch on the impression we got overall of the community, where it is, where we kind of thought you might wanting to be going, and I think there is a demographic. And I agree, we're a hub, but we're also struggling with, we may be an hour from La Crosse, but you'll be amazed, their pull, their magnet's a lot more powerful than mine when it is to pulling that consumer dollar. Our square mile radius, we did a study, is only about 30 miles around. After that, people aren't going to drive to Prairie, so.
Ed, would you like to sit over here?
No, I am the council. I run back and forth.
Bob, next.
The one thing I will note on that conversation is we got the research this week. 2,500 people leave the city every morning and 1,500 come in. 580 work in the city. Live in the city, work in the city.
What were those figures again, Steve?
580 live in the city and work in the city. 1,500 come into the city and 2,500 leave the city.
And we have the opposite, we're a net importer, and most of those want to live in Iowa because they believe the taxes are cheaper, though we proved that's not true, but then they send their kids to the Prairie du Chien School District. I don't know.
Since our Chamber of Commerce is right there next to the bridge over by Iowa, we are the gateway to Wisconsin. We see a little over about 10,500 cars each day going across the bridge back and forth. So that's a huge draw for actually people coming in, working in Prairie du Chien, and then going back home over to Iowa.
You've got some, just for the viewers, you've got some major employers in 3M and the manufactured housing, and not to mention the hospitals, the schools, the rest of it. You're a real magnet from an employment standpoint.
But we don't have a chocolate factory.
No, we
Or a
don't.
brewery.
Willing to discuss trade. You're just not
Or your
getting you're
library.
just not getting our island. Oh, they stopped. I heard about that from the other crew that they loved it.
Just put that on your to-do list right along with the library.
The crew couldn't find the brewery, but they found the chocolate. That's, the downtown, we were very impressed. Architecturally, and that's one of the things I think we looked at, there seemed to be a little, classic preserved here and a little neo-modern architecture next to each other, a little clashing, but sometimes that creates an eclectic flavor. We really liked the use of social media. We saw a lot of people with signs in the front, Facebook, and we saw a lot of promotional material, promoting downtown, promoting the main street. We kind of got the sense right off the bat, there's camaraderie, there's the downtown works together. We came on a Tuesday. And in my group, which was the three of us here, all walked away with the impression Tuesday must be the day they take off in Lake Mills. Because we found several stores that were closed. And it was only
Old pottery store was closed.
Yeah. So and I think we mentioned this in one of our pre-meetings, and you'd never heard that before, but that was our impression, that Tuesdays were not the day to shop in downtown Lake Mills. Because there were too many stores, or reduced hours, or closed completely, and that was just general foot traffic. I think we walked around every area that we went to, and that was the impression that we had gotten. But like I said, you have the social media and that presence. So if the store was closed, there was something in the window usually that said, "Find us here on Facebook" or "Find us here on the internet." So we saw that utilization even if they were closed.
You did get a chance to talk to some of the merchants, though, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to address that. Not only do I agree with what Aaron said, but at the same time, I thought all of the windows were very inviting. I thought they would draw you in as a tourist and as a customer wanting to actually go into the business that we were looking at. I was impressed also by the knowledge of the people that were in the stores. They were all very friendly, very knowledgeable of what was happening in your community. They were very positive about each other's stores as well, as you asked, what else is up down the block? Where am I heading? What would I see? I think that really impressed me the most, is how knowledgeable all the retail people were in their business. From the standpoint that I was truly amazed with was how knowledgeable and friendly all of the people that when we came into the businesses were. Like I said, I'm with the Chamber of Commerce. We try to do a a tourism piece every April. We try to get people in there just to know what's going on in the community, learn what there is to see and do in Prairie du Chien, and we struggle because we can't get people to the table. It's an embarrassment to our community when somebody comes in as a tourist and asks somebody at the front counter, whether it be McDonald's or Hardee's, what's to do in Prairie du Chien, and the response is, I don't know. But I was impressed with the quality of individuals who actually knew what was going on in Lake Mills, and I wish we could emulate that and bring that back to Prairie du Chien, because that is truly awesome. Great.
They seem to be very knowledgeable about the infrastructure of promotions and that. We asked them about the chamber and the Main Street. They seem to know what's going on, and they were very positive about the business community. We did have one thing in the downtown. Okay, we're not going to talk about that yet. Okay. Next slide.
Before we move on, just the park in the middle and the
Oh, yeah.
town square, so to speak, is really a nice feature you have.
And we have the island, but like Drew said on the way down here, the island for us is the destination. I mean, you have to actually get in your car, or you can walk or bike down to the island. So if you want to have an event down there, there's a little bit of travel time. But with the square right there is a great opportunity to have so much in your downtown, to bring people to the downtown. I think if I'd be a young individual, I'd want to actually live downtown, be around where all the action would be, and that's a huge plus for Lake Mills. I wish we had that.
I also went into the newspaper office and got a lot of information, history, maybe of some of the town, very, very helpful that way. I shopped in one of your shops and bought a pyramid of mercury, had all kinds of rocks and stuff. I really liked that store, so I really did enjoy it. And they were all very helpful, very, liked to visit with you, tell you what was going on. It was really very good, better than the Prairie.
I went into one of the realtors downtown, posed, as I said, as a relocation, and tried desperately. I mean, if I would have had a mental crowbar, it wouldn't have helped getting anything out of that individual, which would not lead me to want to live here. I asked everything like, well, is there a section of town I really shouldn't look at for homes? The down, nope, really, there's nothing like that. How are the taxes? They're not bad, they're high, but, I said, well, I just came from town where they're high too, and you heard the same thing in Prairie du Chien. They're always high.
Right.
The only person who says that is the person who lives in a tax-exempt house. That would be Father Wayner for me in Prairie du Chien. So we have that I could not get anything. I just, I said, how is, how's the politics in town? I asked everything, and I just could not get anything out. So I think what we're trying to tell you is your frontline ambassadors, your frontline messengers are good. They're getting the message out there. They're not leading us to go back in the car, back on the interstate, let's go down to Johnson Creek. No, that we didn't come away with any negativity or anything that had us going, why? Why would we want to be here?
Just a question for you guys. I'm wondering what percentage of the upstairs, are there apartments above these businesses? What percentage of individuals are above the businesses? Are they older, younger? What is the demographic? Just kind of share some of that stuff with me, please.
Speak to that?
Well, I know that probably 80 to 90% of the buildings have units above them. The demographics, maybe you know, Brad.
Well, I know, I'm actually one of them, business owner downtown.
Uh-oh.
And I live above it myself, and I know of 2 other business owners who do that. And other than that, it's just a mixture of apartments and such, but. All ages? Yeah, all ages, really, yeah, it kind of meets all demographics.
And when I go home at night and leave my business, I know that there are eyes watching from every corner, good ones and bad ones. And not much goes on downtown. I leave merchandise on the street every day, and it's relatively secure. Feel very comfortable in our downtown situation with the eyes that are above and those that are below.
But I would say that it's, if anything, even a little underutilized. I love living downtown. I think it would be great. I truly do. But there's the stigma of when you drive through a community, and depending who you see in front of these businesses, whether it be after business hours or whatever, that kind of sets the stage of what your impression would be of who might be living in the downtown. Right. So I think that's, yeah.
I think our downtown is totally vested with people who care about what goes on.
That's excellent.
And that's cool.
which is all positive, but then there's got to be, well, I got to throw the gray cloud in here. You had one sign telling me to go downtown when I came into Lake Mills. You have all these assets downtown. You have a beautiful, one sign, which was hard to read, telling me this is the downtown. I would have put a flashing marquee out there or something, say, come to the downtown. I mean, this is,
How many people have told us that they have stopped at our McDonald's to pee or to get coffee, but they go on, they never come this way. They never come south.
I think it's actually just really a classic problem too. I mean, when I drive places, you know, and I used to do a lot more traveling, driving for work and such, and yeah, you pull off and you're always kind of like, ooh, how far do I have to go? You know, so yeah, it's an issue. It's a hard one to solve. But you have it downtown, I think you want to show off. You want to get people, whether it's the library, whether it's the different, you know, we had a lunch downtown, it was, you know, great. Coming into Lake Mills, we counted 2 signs coming in from Madison. One's for your pottery store, and one says Lake Mills, but it's very cluttered. So if you're going 70 miles an hour, not any faster, it goes right past. Okay, I think there's a little arrow pointing that you turn. I counted coming back from Milwaukee Monday, and again, 2 signs telling me this is Lake Mills over here, and one's your pottery store, and the other one I think was for another business. You have no signage on the highway saying you need to check out our downtown. You need to check out our lake. You need to check out our brewery. You need to check out our golf course. There's really nothing. You have not baited the hook. And a lot of dollars, in our opinion, were just flying down the highway going to Johnson Creek or Waukesha or Madison or Stoughton and not pulling in here. And
What we're hearing from you is we need to toot our horn a little bit better.
well, and yeah, because you got something worth tooting. I hope that doesn't come off bad on television, but you know, I mean, you you have something you should be bragging about.
We can bleep that out.
Okay, on the highway. I mean, and you come into Prairie du Chien and it's billboard city. I mean, we actually have too many. It overwhelms. I think you saw that. It's billboard after billboard after billboard. But there's nothing out there on that highway telling me. And I noticed, and I looked again today because it was a bright sunny day, you're not right up against the highway. So you actually have a little bit of a bigger hurdle to overcome because you don't see Lake Mills until you're on top of Lake Mills. And if you're like me, you don't turn around in the interstate. 'Cause
And when
you know
you're
there's
coming in from the west, there's that series of hills that, and you sometimes get lost in that, and you forget, oh, there's Lake Mills, and suddenly you're by it, right?
So we're not talking about the interstate sign that says Lake Mills that you can't miss. You're talking
No.
about grab your attention sign
Grab
if
your
you want to
attention.
turn off.
Right.
And you got enough stuff that you should be able to easily fill a billboard or a decent sign to attract some demographic in some unique way to come into the city and tell them it's worth turning off and coming in here. You've got the attractions.
And question, now, we have a new second grocery store called The Market, and that's the one that has the pole on it that you were referring to earlier in this conversation. So that did catch your attention.
It did today again. I caught it again on Monday.
So a sign like, something to that effect is to draw people in, is what
The
you're
one
referring
about
to.
that-
It wasn't there last November.
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't. And that's when we really noticed there was nothing. All of a sudden, you're on top of the sign saying turn here. But if I was just driving to Milwaukee, well, why turn here unless
You want to go see the Brewers lose.
No, I would stop in Lake Mills because I had a bodily function to take care of. I mean, there was nothing, you brought it up. So I guess that's one thing I guess we all had mentioned, you know, on the way back is, boy, they could really, you got to bait the hook. 'Cause we think you got, you know, some tasty worms for the fish to chew on. I mean, but you got to bait the hook.
When we get to the part where we're going to do some brainstorming about that, we'll try and include you guys in on that, because that, I think, will be very, very helpful, because you do a very nice job, obviously, coming in over that river, making it feel inviting for people. You know, I think we've got a lot to learn from you all as well in Prairie du Chien. And nobody does tourism like you guys do.
Right there. Okay, next.
Oh, there's no artwork here. Oh, sorry.
front page of our paper, last November, they've been covering this story and said, do you have any pictures of Lake Mills we can put in the paper? So what do you think they ran on the front page of the Prairie du Chien Courier Press? This ceiling with the caption of, wow. Because it caught our eye when we walked in here. We're like, wow. And it looks like a place of dignity and pomp and circumstance. It grabs your attention. It was there.
I know you guys stated that you couldn't find the chamber office, but if you would have, this is it. Sorry you missed it, but this is it.
I missed that budget amendment meeting. I'm sorry.
We'll clear it out. We'll clear it out once a month for the city government. Yeah.
What's nice is we have a 90-acre city park with walnut trees, so staff was told, start chopping, because I want I-beams in the council chamber that look like this. So, we mentioned the library, and Linda obviously toured that with our city planner. We're very impressed. We knew the history. We knew a little bit of the history in advance because we'd done some research on it. Do you want to talk about the council in the main, how you were surprised at the part-time?
Oh, about the chamber stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was talking to your chamber director, and I think we had a conversation the day I had a chance to visit with her for a while, and then she left, and then we had a nice conversation. I guess I was just kind of surprised that it was part-time. I guess if somebody comes in and sees that, that's closed, do you have somebody there that actually is going to assist them with their needs of looking for a certain business? Would that be you? And if you would be out of the office, is there somebody else that has a backup?
Not really.
Okay, so that would probably, I don't know how often, I know you're really busy, you have a lot of events that you plan as well, but I was just wondering if someone was actually coming into the chamber office looking for some information or materials, and they see that no one's there, that does not send the best message. That we're ready, we're open for business, we're here to help, and I just, I know that we talked about memberships before, and we're comparing our membership. We have a membership of over 350 chamber members. I think we had a discussion, you guys are at 125, but even if you can have a volunteer or somebody there during the off times, I work with a staff of 3 part-time individuals that actually work at the chamber, at the Welcome Center, but we also have 15 volunteers. So when somebody does come in the door, there's somebody there to greet them and say, welcome to Prairie du Chien, is there anything I can help you with? I think that leaves a very positive experience when they leave our chamber office.
It's a great observation, Bob.
Retail.
We did not, as far as the youth center, what was the building, Linda, it was over by the 3 churches. And we just,
Center.
we didn't know what it was. I mean, the signage, it was kind of confusing. I mean, we had to drive up, and I didn't know if it was youth center, roller skating ring. I mean, we just,
Yeah, that was a comment that I actually had. I asked the question, what is there to do for someone between the ages of like 12 or 10 up to like 15? If they don't have a driver's license or if they don't have to leave Lake Mills, I mean, I didn't see a bowling alley, I didn't see a movie theater. I mean, I know you have this activity center, but beyond that, what is there to do for these students? Let's say, for example, they're not in a lot of sports activities.
There's a bowling alley, but
Okay.
it's pretty small.
And the activity center isn't a youth activity center, it's a nonprofit, not-for-profit organization that has various things more geared for the adults than.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, there's,
Yeah.
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 well, it's
The
interesting because I
overall-
see confusion over what the building actually does. Now you know where we were confused, because when we pulled in, we're like,
Well, that
We didn't
building was an elementary school for the Lutheran Church. So one of those churches that you saw, the 3, used to be the Lutheran Church, and then that was their school. But they've since built on the south end of town. But so they turned the school into the Rock Lake Activity Center.
by the way, we like the reuse. We saw 2 churches that have been recycled, if you will. Very impressive. That really stood out to us. And we have a problem in Prairie du Chien with abandoned buildings, historical buildings. Those 2 really stood out. I mean, obviously, being especially on that corridor coming to the downtown, it really sent a very clear message that you have pride in the historic buildings, you take care of them, they don't become abandoned. We like the fact that we have 3 churches clustered over here, which is, I mean, you trip, fall, either way you roll, you're going to go to heaven. It doesn't matter which religion you're going to go. I mean, you're going up. They're all right there. So you cover all the bases. So we thought that was impressive with the recycling of the buildings. So
think
many
our school-
towns just wipe them out.
I think our school district covers the youth activities though, because they do the recreation program. And their kids are highly involved in all kinds of volunteer activities, you know, the clubs, the drama. We have a theater group. We have a couple theater groups, actually. We have the Penguin one.
And again,
then
it's
we
the
have-
apples to oranges analogy I think you made. We come from a community that just put $2 million into a recreational facility. The school district's talking about what is it, 19 million, Drew, 16 million dollar referendum that includes a new gymnasium and, you know, some amenities, so, you know, apples to oranges. We have our perspective of what we thought we would see, and we just struggle to find something.
Yeah, there isn't like a actual youth center.
Okay.
Yeah. The high school has the theater there, and they use that. That's used all the time, and even the old St. Paul's Church has been used for theater groups.
And the winery downtown is used for theatrical productions and music and that kind of thing. He's got an open space there that he uses that for. So for as far as the kids are concerned, a lot of it's revolves, I think, probably around the schools and also about there's a real solid rec program. On the south end of town, you may not have noticed because it was November, but Rotary Park is down there. It's a big ball, several ball diamonds.
Back
and
to his Rotary
we did
thing.
see
He's all over the Rotary.
That has Rotary. And
But
there's
now I
a-
see the perspective, Rennie, when you bring that up, because you had kind of panned us for the lack of cultural and and now apples to oranges, because you're listing all these places where you have culture and drama and that we don't. So you got us there.
You know what's unique about Lake Mills is that we have found adaptive reuse and have been able to accomplish, through lots of difficulty, some adaptive reuse of buildings. And I think that is, truly.
It's noticed. Let me tell you, it's noticed. It's noticed right off the bat.
It's
when you
truly
come
to
in.
be recommended, because we have some private investors who have spent a lot of money and gone through a lot of hoops in order to do that adaptive reuse. And there you have all of those buildings in Prairie du Chien that, man, could they ever use some adaptive reuse? But they're so big and they're so overwhelming that I think that is, that's not something that private investors are going to be real interested in.
Do you utilize that as a tourism asset? For example, do you offer like historical walking tours, whether it's the chamber or through the main street? That'd be a great way to get people in those
We have
buildings.
worked on a walking tour, and we do have a walking tour of houses and sites, but nothing to the extent that we could do.
Right, it's
I mean, we
something
don't have a Civil War cemetery, darn it. We probably do, and we don't even know it.
You do.
But you're
There's
right.
a lot
I
of
think
Civil
we,
War.
we might be able to draw a tour bus or two
You could.
in with the stories. I know there's been ghost stories. We've had some fun books that have been put out about the history of the community.
And if you're looking for like an event for like off season, whether it be winter, you could have like some type of winter theme, open house, and that'd be a great way to actually get tourism in Lake Mills.
We have a big winter festival in
Yeah.
February.
That'd be perfect.
I do think that we need to give a little hats off to the people who have invested in those forlorn buildings. And I don't know how you ever stimulate that kind of growth and development, but to the people who have done that adaptive reuse in their buildings, hats off, because that takes a gob of cash, and we haven't really, with our Main Street program, been able to muster much of that cash to put forward to them. We suffer those
Most of those
same
grants are
challenges.
drying up, so we understand that.
You understand.
Right. And our problem in Prairie du Chien is we passed a beautiful design and preservation committee and all this, and they never passed an historic preservation code. They stopped about 10 years ago. And so I have this committee that meets and doesn't do anything. And these buildings are falling, and I agree, it's private investment, but I think how you start it isn't always money. Sometimes it's the message that those who have already done the work are being noticed, and their work is being appreciated by people from outside the community driving through going, wow,
It's
that's...
been so much fun with this program, to see what you were doing and to see what we were doing. So much fun.
I'll trade you two of my dilapidated for a church to be named later.
You have
Next,
some,
please.
You have some wonderful adaptive reuse in Prairie du Chien too. There's some beautiful work that's been done.
Retail observation, does anyone want to jump in on that one? Retail, do you want to?
Keep going.
We kind of mentioned, we kind of impression Tuesdays were the day to shop in the downtown. That was just our impression, based on that one day that we were here. We understand your proximity to Madison makes it difficult. I heard someone mention, well, you're the hub, we have to fight the perception that, well, I gotta go to Madison, or I gotta go to La Crosse, I have to go to Dubuque to shop. Well, so you gotta fight that. We have to fight that, you have to fight you got the Madison, you got the, because when I drove here, I said to my wife, I said, what do you think, yeah, nice town, would you live here? Well, yeah, look at all the places I can go shopping, I can go over there, I can go over there, I'm like, okay, well, I get the message, you got that pull that's pulling the dollars out of your community versus keeping it circulating. The retail we know seem to be geared towards tourism. Now, again, it goes back to, we come from a hub community, but we didn't, you don't have the Peebles, you don't have the Super Walmart, the stuff like that. But again, I don't think that's a negative, because what we notice downtown is you've mixed that into an eclectic, appealing, get out there and toot your horn atmosphere. Because not every town needs to have major retail. You like to have that mix. You like to have something that's maybe different than your hometown.
And you sell chocolate in your industrial park. That was cool.
But an outlet store downtown would be really neat too.
Oh, we know.
Okay, just throwing that out there. Local Lake Mills, beer, chocolate, great combination.
Wine.
Yeah, wine, whatever you can grow, make, produce.
Set up a counter in the
You didn't
in the
get any
local
complaints
flower
about the flower shop,
Chocolate
did you?
and flowers.
No, should I have? Was it open? It was Tuesday. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
She was open.
Yeah.
You're open Tuesdays, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
I don't know, I didn't see any pictures on Facebook of.
Next slide, please. Local industry, and this is one area where I think, Bob, I want you to talk about, we played the role model of wanting to locate in Lake Mills. And this is where I think you whiffed.
This is where Bob wanted to be, badly.
Right. But I think on this one, we threw the pitch and you struck out on it, because we didn't get responses, websites were down. We just came away with the impression that economic development industry wasn't a high priority. We just did not get that impression. Retail, bedroom community, upscale and spots. But if I had a 100-person widget factory, maybe not so much. Bob, you want to talk about that cold calling, if you will?
Well, we had three parties that had placed calls and left voicemail, and or voice message. We also did, there was a couple of us that had gone on to your website, and we kept getting a 404 error on the website on economic development in industrial. I'm not sure specifically, but it had to do with industrial. We were just looking and searching, pre-searching for additional information.
I think that meant there was 404 lots available.
Oh, is that what that
I'm
was?
pretty sure.
Okay.
Bob, can I ask who you called?
Well, I think, I don't remember now.
I think
but
David
it
Conley, who was the other member, didn't he call Jefferson County?
Well, that's where we eventually ended up, but I think we did call the chamber, as I recall.
Yeah. We had the Jefferson County Economic Development just instituted a brand-new webpage at that time. And we had just made a staff change. She used to run the webpage, and then we went to Heather just at that time period too. So no sooner were you done going through than I was going through it saying, okay, we need to fix these, and I found those too. But Genevieve was the one there. But normally I get calls, I'm on them right away, and I didn't get any, and all the web pages list me as the contact.
No, we can try and get you the documentation, because I remember, because everybody was given a pre-trip assignment. Drew, the schools, Bob was the cold call marketing, I was doing social media, Facebook website, blind, hunting around. You were chamber and,
A great packet from the chamber.
yeah, great packet.
Really?
Yeah. So everybody had their pre-assignments on that, and I'll try and see if I can get the notes on that from last year.
I do know that I was having trouble specifically, and so then I had my two sons call from Milwaukee, and they kept saying that they were having to leave a voice message. And I know David Conley, who was not with us tonight, David is the executive director for Crawford County Economic Development, and he tried also. So we were getting the same problems, and we weren't getting the responses back. And I think he's the one that went to Jefferson County to get the information. So, yeah, that was right off the bat. It was, just a bad signal.
We did, as Linda mentioned, we got a great package from the chamber. And I think you went, aha, I know they're onto us. It's Prairie du Chien. They sent us everything. So I used my in-laws' address in Amherst, Wisconsin. They did not receive anything. Now, I'm not saying it could have gotten lost in the mail. I mean, I sat with the realtor and asked for a listing of houses, and he printed off a list of all the houses within my price range. I had to quickly scramble because my email address has Prairie du Chien in it. So I had him use my wife's, which is her maiden name. It's great. But that email didn't get through. So, I mean, some of this could be factors that are completely out of your control. Technology, the U.S., I mean, the mail never loses anything. I mean, really. What was that check last year you didn't get from me that we lost in the mail? $8,000 check disappeared in the mail, and he's 6 blocks away. So, yeah.
Pick it up now.
Yeah, he comes down and physically picks it up each year.
Sounds like Uncle Billy from It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah. So, again, we're not saying this is your fault. Some of these things could be outside of your control, and that was fine. Okay, so we push our industry, you see it, you see the impact. So it's okay. It wasn't we
I'd
drove
like to
through
know,
the
Bob, maybe what were you expecting?
Actually, we were just wanting additional information to be sent to us, mailed out.
You were just going to pretend to be a business of some sort
Correct.
that was
Yeah.
interested in possibly locating in town, and what information do you have, essentially, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we were interested in seeing that packet of information that you would mail out to a would-be prospect.
Great first impression, great. I mean, it really means a lot
Right.
to learn these things.
Yeah, it's really invaluable. Thank you.
When I called the chamber, first to ask for information, I can't remember if it was by Labor Day, it was a holiday or something, and the person left a message. They called me back and said they'd take care of it after the holiday or something. They did. It was very, so maybe they're only part-time, but they're on the ball.
She's very good.
So it was a mixed bag, I guess, is what we're trying to say. And again, some of these things we can't pinpoint and say, you screwed up, because you may have sent it, and it disappeared. That email, I watched your
I
realtor.
didn't send anything, and
I watched
I
your
don't
realtor
ever-
hit the
I
send
never got a
button on the
call.
email. It just didn't get to Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, okay? Okay, that's fine. I saw the list. He had some nice homes. He did everything I'd asked, but I just didn't get the information forwarded to me to my,
Well, we know the information exists.
It does.
It's just the conduit somehow wasn't there for you when you were looking for it, and that's something got to look at.
that
Yeah,
could
it's
be.
a great project.
We did go through the industrial park. Both teams went through it. It was it was an interesting mix. It was an interesting, and I think once again, apples to oranges. You saw our industrial parks, very blockish, right on the railroad. Got a railroad on one side and a major highway on the other. You got 1,000-employee factories, different. So we come in there with that vision, okay? And that's just the way they are. It's like if you were born in the South and moved to the North, you're going to have a different view starting with winter. So, we had a different vision. Observations from the team on the industrial park?
I thought it looked like a park, a city park. It was so green and pretty. It was beautiful. I wasn't expecting that because, like Aaron said, ours are very functional, not necessarily attractive.
Over on the farther east, you had some, it looked like business, office type business or shared.
You're talking
Buildings.
maybe the old Krapaco building on the left-hand side, like a warehouse?
No, there were some newer buildings. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Condo.
Condos, yeah.
Condo, yeah.
Yeah, they're
that's
like,
a
there are
great
8 different
idea.
businesses that each have a condo in there.
Yeah, that is something that we actually took that back with us. We thought that was kind of a neat idea.
An interesting way for a smaller business to have an industrial site, maybe to function with another site. It certainly is an interesting way to do an industrial area.
So it's set up like a housing condo association where the association owns the structure and the businesses own the interior of it. That's how it's set up.
For the media, they call this the first impressions, and second, it's plagiarism. We steal ideas from each other. So we took some of those back with us.
That's that one idea you're gonna take with you.
Oh, no, there are quite a few that we
No,
took back
there's-
to Prairie.
yeah.
My
There might
staff
be a
loved it
few
when they got the to-do list the following day. The industrial park, just my gut impression, I'd be citing a tech company there. I'd be citing an upscale. I wouldn't put a smokestack industry. I wouldn't even bring anything that is dirty, if you will. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. But I think with your downtown, the eclectic nature, your proximity to the, a major city in Wisconsin, you have the potential for those startups, those places that can't afford a lot in Madison, or the taxes, or the regulations, but wants to be in their quiet corner where they can grow and not be, and I think you've got that, you have a niche there that we kind of got that impression that's something you could look at and sell. You heard Linda say it looked like a city park. It did not look like an industrial park to us when we drove through. I mean, the winding road, it was just,
I do have to say that we have looked at that and worked on that. All of Jefferson County has moved away from that. We just cannot compete with Madison. They need the university. Even the surrounding cities provide so much benefit that and the people who work in those industries don't want to leave Madison. And so we have really, in Jefferson County, shifted our vision quite away from that tech industry type of process and into more food, hospital.
but those aren't
medical.
dirty industries either, so that still fits that.
Right. So it's been, definitely would not turn them down. But it's been an issue for us. The food industry here has really started to head towards the railroads too. It's been a big issue for us not having a railroad here. Now, we do have a business called Sustainable Swine Resources, which is a research program.
Sustainable what?
Sustainable Swine Resources, which is a resource project. And then we have a lot of plastics and fiberglass and specialty machines.
Right.
So
And we're trying to get more food industry in our community because we have the rail, the river, and water. They love water. And we have a very high-capacity water system, so that attracts them.
and they love wastewater treatment plants.
And we have a state-of-the-art one right on the river. Believe me, when you put one next to the river, it has to be state-of-the-art. This was the room for improvement in the industrial park, Bob?
Yes, signage, given the fact that, and we talked about it here a little bit, the fact that it felt more like you were in a big greenway and park, maybe having monuments on the corners that just says you're still in the industrial park or business park. Something that gives it a little more continuity, perhaps. There's a lot of space there. So we just thought, better signage. Of course, we're beating that to death, and we have the same problems. and then keeping the, trying to mark the boundaries, and that's basically what I just previously said. Something, maybe some small monuments in the corners or something that kind of ties it all together, that says, yeah, you're still here. Maybe even monuments that have numbers on them, or the name, do you?
Make them big enough so that you can see it when you go.
Do you even have names for your business park? We have names on ours.
Yeah, we have
No, it's
North
not an
Gateway,
industrial
we have
business
Lawyer, each of them are named and signed that way.
No, we don't. We just have business park.
And one of the ideas too, I know one of the team members that day said, some landscaping, something to break up, the rolling green monotony of where there's nothing built yet at this point, would help. Just something to show that, yeah, it's vibrant, it's a community, it's growing, and we're growing with it. It just, I guess a little TLC is what we thought. But again, that kind of left the impression to us, okay, you're not pushing industry, you're not pushing the business park, because then right after that is when we drove to the new subdivision and went, now maybe they're more of a satellite of Madison. They're taking in those people that are living here and working elsewhere, and this is where they're seeing the growth. And that was sort of and you're starting to move in that direction. You're starting to grow into that direction. That's what we drove away, at least my team did that day. One other area that, we should probably touch on that is when we mentioned the fire department. And my team stood there and went, wow, and then we turned around and went, oh. The lake shore. I mean, you had a dilapidated boat dock. You had weeds growing up. It was like an afterthought. And we have a river community, so we have shorelines. I mean, as I joked with Randy, yours is here, mine goes like this, but still, it's a shoreline. And we have, the homes built along there that can, that are on stilts from the floods, and we have the marinas and that. Right around the fire department, it was like you have this beautiful building and you have this bay, if you will, and it detracted. I mean, it just kind of took away from it. It was like,
Question
and
for
I
you
don't want
on
to be
that.
overly critical, but I mean, when you sit there and look at this $1 million beautiful fire department, you turn around and look at this dilapidated boat dock, it's like, it's a non-synchronicity kind of thing.
It's a dichotomy.
A question for you on that one,
Oh.
because when I read your report, it seemed like in the report that you were looking at that as if this was our primary spot for the Rock Lake. Did you see the north end in the Bartle Beach area, and did you see, well, the north end with shoreline with the lake there?
And we knew about the
And of
UFOs.
course, part of that's county, much of it. And then you go to the other end and you have Bartle's Beach.
Right.
But as an area community with the lake, what you're looking at, what we call the mill pond, which you just described,
Okay.
is private homes on both sides with an open public channel. It is not our primary boat launch. It's a very secondary type boat launch, and because you have to go under a bridge, so it's only the smallest of boats that can go out there. So it's a backyard to homes, not the public view of the lake and the beautiful park and beach.
Yeah, the
I
question
know if
is,
you
what would you do with
recognize
it
that when you were
to
looking
change
at
it?
it.
Because you
We
can't,
take the lake and turn it about 45 degrees.
Wrong again, wrong again, wrong again.
because you can't go in and,
What is so great about your whole comment is that it's your first impression.
It
And
was.
that is what is so great to keep in mind here is that, new eyes, look at area. Oh, it's not quite perfect. Could it be more perfect? Yeah, probably.
And again, go
it
from our
could.
perspective. You saw our downtown, and we're trying to incorporate the river and trying to build that. We're trying to get that water component. We've looked at everything from a convention center to a walking trail to
Trying
this,
to,
that.
trying to connect.
Trying
I
to get
wanted a
that
bike
com-
trail along that area, so
Perfect.
this is
Tie
nice
the
firepower
lake into
for
the
me. Thank you.
downtown. Perfect. Tie the
Well, how
lake
does
into
a
the
new
downtown.
dam
Great.
sound, Ed? How does a new dam sound?
I don't think so, but a
Doesn't
nice
sound
bike
cheap,
trail
I'll tell
would
you
be-
that. It doesn't sound cheap. But yeah, something, and it goes towards synchronicity. I think that's the key word is. You got the downtown, you got this beautiful municipal investment, the city hall and the fire station, and you got a lake, a beautiful lake, but there's like that in between that just, and it's a little unsightly. It just,
You may be surprised, because if you share this comment with those homeowners that live around that area, I think they may take the initiative to actually do some things to actually fix it up on their own.
On the south end, it was November, And on the south end now, there's a restaurant. The city owns the property, kind of a marina down there. I don't know if you caught that or not. It's called the Sandbar. It's the nicest beach on the lake. There's volleyball courts. There's a park there for the kids, all the rest of it. That is something maybe you didn't pick up on when you guys were here. So I noticed from your report that you thought maybe more development or certainly more beautification could be done around the lake to make it more inviting. I'd like you to talk a little bit more about that. What do you think?
Well,
I think those are great comments, because I think sometimes you have something that you see every day and you forget
Right.
that it's there. And the reality is, there's all this broken concrete and all this dilapidated wall right there downtown in one of
Right.
our most gorgeous areas that is easiest to get to when somebody comes to town.
Right.
You know, and so I agree with you.
Well, that's where Hope's comment on, no matter what it is, whether it's public or private, it is the first impression.
It's a first impression.
but there can be a partnership between the public and the private, and we've had some of those examples along the Mississippi, joint partnerships, private and public. And I'm not saying, and I hope you understand the context, we didn't expect a Green Lake. We didn't expect a Lake Geneva. But I think some of us, and I think somebody made the comment, they thought there'd be more dining. Because, you go North Woods and there's, 10 Friday night fish fries around a lake in northern Wisconsin. That was kind of our thought. We're going to see more. You're going to use that lake as a marketing tool, especially when you look at the map initially and you see how close it is to the downtown and all these other, that was our assumption, because we had some assumptions coming in, but then our impression was totally opposite. It's like the lake is an afterthought. It's there. It looks good on a brochure, maybe a magazine when you get a sunset picture, but we didn't see anybody pushing boating. We didn't see anybody pushing fishing. We didn't, the things that you have all seem to be outside the city, or they're not in the city.
Well, and
That was our impression.
you did come down when, November?
Yep.
Okay.
I was
But
gonna laugh.
you also have,
mention
you also have tourism, you also have, marketing brochures.
Just saying.
The problem we face is that we have competition. There are times where there are so many boats on the lake that you can't get
We're
on
not
the
really
lake.
inviting you over. We're just gonna give you the first impression and then just stay where you are and go on the river, okay?
Yeah,
We
so-
got our lake and we're gonna love it here.
Yeah, so we have definitely a battle between the people who live around the lake and the people who
we will.
come to use the lake.
And anytime you wanna talk about that battle of lakefront property owners and people who are outlotted from the lake, you can talk to me about that. Because, we got what we got and we're paying taxes on it and we don't really want anybody else here. And if you're coming here, you better not bring any invasive or aquatic species that we don't want here. And
You know that
Believe me,
Clampett
we didn't
picture?
bring the Higgins Eye clam that has caused us so many problems in Prairie du Chien.
You know that
Caused our
clam-
harbor to shut down.
Aaron, you know that Clampett picture you had?
Yeah.
Meet Granny. She's sitting out there with her pea shooter,
But again, that's our first impression
it's
of the lake.
really wonderful. It's really wonderful. Your first impression is a very good impression.
We
for us.
come from water-based communities, just slightly
Yes,
different.
indeed. It's been said before, so.
Next, Bob?
We actually have touched on these already, so
Yep.
I fell asleep.
I was really proud as kind of the retail lady here to see that our group has really done its homework. I mean, we really have a group of merchants who are supportive of each other, who direct each other to each other's businesses, and that's a real important thing. Whatever you saw really came home to me in that sense, and I think that really makes our community even more solid as we move forward, because this is where we're going. We're not just here, we're moving forward.
And obviously with the tourism, we heard you drooling over our room tax revenue, which this year should hit $300,000.
Stop already.
And
Well,
'cause
there are,
Just so everyone knows that
No.
there are 62 motels in Prairie du Chien.
and the room tax.
62. And they're
that
about the
those
same size as our
62
community, about
motels
7,000.
generate is,
No, you know what?
$1,000.
You're missed, it's not 62 hotels, 62 different lodging options, which includes campgrounds, which we don't tax. We only have 550 hotel rooms, don't get thrown off by that.
Yeah.
We're at 6.
Not as high as it should be, John.
We're at 6%. We're at 6%. We raised it 1%
What's
a
unique
couple
about the
years
room tax and what the people of Lake Mills need to know is that this is an organized special assessment that each motel pays willingly, and that money then goes to tourism. And it is
Actually,
done-
for us, it went to marketing.
it
Big
goes
time.
to marketing for tourism and for more exposure for the community.
10 years ago, we brought in $80,000. We raised the room tax 1% in 2010 and said, okay, we're going to generate X number of dollars. Broaden. So we started doing billboards in Minneapolis, television in Green Bay. We were on the Brewer games last year for the first time and actually had people come over and say, hey, I saw your ad. Because we used a new tagline, Prairie du Chien, we've got it. And we had people driving over to Prairie du Chien for day trips.
So your room tax, which we do not have in Lake
Paid for
Mills,
all of it.
puts you $80,000 ahead
Well, that was
of
10
us.
years ago. This last year, we hit 280.
Yeah.
When we
Yeah.
started in
Yikes.
1991, the first year, the chamber received just $35,000 in room tax.
That's it. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
So we've seen directly as we go the ROI, the return on the
No
investment.
wonder when I went on your website to get your brochure, it was there before I finished clicking.
Well,
No
and
wonder you have no 404s on your website.
No.
more power to you. Your website is complete. It has links to everything you could possibly think about historically.
You're talking the city one or the chamber or?
Chamber One
Yep.
is, your city website is an information page. I mean, I really enjoyed reading about the flood of 68. Blah, blah, blah.
65.
We don't hype the
Right.
floods.
I enjoyed reading about it. I enjoyed reading the city salaries. I enjoyed reading what the responsibilities of the city groups were. I enjoyed their website.
We never
I-
published the salaries till I got there. And, I never got a Christmas card from anybody on the staff the first year. I don't know why.
But
When I
the
was-
chamber website is fantastic. It markets the entire region, and I know you've worked really hard on that, Bob. It is amazing, but it's amazing what kind of money has been invested into doing that, and that is what is key. Because they market McGregor, Iowa, they market,
Market.
you market,
Yeah.
market. And you do a lot of regional marketing in the Driftless area, and there are a lot of, I mean, the people that were at the meeting the other night that we were at on the Orchard, they were totally engaged because they know that you are working for them. And that is just such a fantastic thing.
We have a lot to learn. I'd like to know what your first impressions of our tourism are. Here we
We
are.
aren't drunks, but we thought the brewery could have been promoted a lot more. That is a draw. We see that we have a winery and we have a brewery in our area. You told us we need a distillery, obviously, and we got all three legs covered on the stool. But we thought the brewery, I mean, just based on the fact that when you first called me or emailed, my wife said, Lake Mills, what do you know about Lake Mills? I said, well, my best man at my wedding lived here about 15 years ago for a summer, and they make beer. I said, that's what I knew about Lake Mills. And then when I got here, I was shocked that, okay, that's fine. But that's what we
You had a
saw.
hard time finding the brewery, so there you
I don't
go.
think we ever did.
I saw the picture.
You had a picture of it.
Did we?
We did.
probably got
For
it
the
off the
industrial
website.
park, it was
One of
actually a
you
Probably got it
picture
off
of the.
Google
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Off of page 405.
No wonder we couldn't find it.
That's the 405 error.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it would have been.
Well, I'll
It's
tell
in
you
an
what, if we get
industrial
out of here
area.
early enough, we'll show you the brewery tonight.
I was going to pick
never
up a
did
6 or a quick trip on the way out of here. I think we covered a lot of the tourism with the brewery, the signage. You get that, hook those people on the interstate, grab them. I mean, that's what we've done. I mean, we put billboards on interstates. We put them, especially in the major areas around Iowa and southern Minnesota. We get them on those interstates. And even if they don't come directly to Prairie du Chien, we get them across the river. If they spend $1 in Marquette, McGregor, they're probably going to spend $1 in Prairie du Chien. That's kind of the philosophy, is we're going to get the spillover and the multiplier effect. Hook them. That's
One thing we struggle with, obviously, is when the last leaf falls, we really struggle from November 1st through, May 1st. What do you guys do to encourage tourists to come in November?
Hey, man, we got ice here. We got all kinds of ice, and we
We
get
have
them
ice
in
too,
here.
but that's not always a pleasant thing for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We do a lot of snowmobiling, a lot of ice fishing. We've got a big festival in February. We've got things going on in December.
We got an inside farmer's market.
Yes, we
But
do.
somebody mentioned about November, I wouldn't see the fishing, but I should have seen ice fishing being pushed on the website, something to bring me in here. We have ice fishing too on the Mississippi, which is always an adventure.
We have a
So-
festival, it's an ice festival that draws a lot of people in, that's run by the Main Street. There's also, the Rotary just instituted a wonderful beer and wine tasting this year that takes place out at Selgin. We're lacking a large meeting space
So are we.
here
We're
in town,
identical to
you know,
that.
just like you guys don't
Yeah,
have the
we need the
convention
we need the
space.
convention center, we need the conference center.
But Selgin has a couple of very large rooms. It used to be the old Crepaco Packaging Company. They built a big place and do have the facility for it, and that was a big success, the Rotary last year with that. That drew quite a few people. We also built Stonehenge on the lake this year. Somebody did. I don't know if you saw the photograph of it that Eli took this year. So, you know, there are some things that happen during the winter. We've got the bike trail just on the south edge of town. I think there's some cross-country skiing. There's a lot of that goes on. Birding is a big deal around here as well. We got a lot of marsh.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge
material,
event
so
for
that
us.
would- That's a draw. Birding is bigger than I ever thought.
We don't have a carp drop, though. I'm really sad about that.
Yeah.
Sad.
What's the predominant fish in this lake? What is the predominant fish?
Bass, there's some northern
Panfish.
panfish.
Northern-
Drop the bass. Just make sure you say it very clearly. Drop the bass for New Year's Eve.
Instead of drop the carp.
Said
They
drop
got
the
this-
carp.
Wait a minute, you guys explain the drop the carp people here.
Okay, yeah, the chamber director will explain why we kiss a dead fish and drop it.
Fascinating.
Several years ago, there was a small group that got together to wanted to do something on New Year's Eve that would be original for Prairie du Chien. And I think this is what, the 17th or 18th year. At midnight, they actually hold up, they've got a large crane, they drag up the carp, and then at midnight, then the carp drops. It's dead, by the way. It is dead. It's in the freezer for months. And at the end, at midnight, then people actually kiss the carp for good luck. They've actually included now, they've got tents, they've got campfires. It's really kind of fireworks. It's neat for the young kids. The kids come out, the kids kiss the carp for good luck. They've got photographers taking photos of that. Actually, the second, I think the second or third year, it actually made the Johnny Carson's The Tonight Show as one of the most interesting things to do on New Year's Eve, and Prairie du Chien was on that show. But I would say that on an average, if we're lucky, we get maybe 300 to 400 people. But it's very short-lived, because if it's really like 15 below zero, that's the last thing they want to do is stand out there and kiss a carp. So they all they sit in the bar till about 5 minutes to 12, run down, kiss the carp, get back in the bar by 5 after 12, and it's over. So.
Could you explain what happens to the carp after?
Well, there's three
afterwards?
major events in the year. One is in the middle of the summer, when Mike Valley from the very famous Valley Fish Shop goes out and
The carp,
catches
first of all, goes into the freezer.
No,
Second-
he's got to be caught first. You got to catch him on the river.
Oh, okay.
He's caught by Mike Valley. And you see the big picture in the newspaper of this giant carp, swimming, happy, flopping, thrown in the freezer. And he sits there and freezes all the way to December 31st. He's hauled out for a few special promotional events. He's brought up, put on this crane, boom, hits the frozen ground. Everybody kisses him. He goes back in the freezer.
Yeah.
Then around May, when the ground thaws, they take Lucky out of the freezer, plant him in Lucky Park in the downtown, and plant a tree on top of him. So eventually we will have a forest fertilized by dead carp. But it's so glitchy, and it was a one-day event. Now we have week-long events. We have ice bowling. We have events at our recreational facility. We have a coloring contest last year. I think there was like 500 kids entries. I mean, it's kind of like morphed into this winter event. Unfortunately, every year I've been there, the outdoor events are getting canceled because it's 3 feet of snow, 25 below wind chill, but it gives us attention. And it all started with a dead fish, really. So
As I said, we've got a lot to learn from these people. Dead carp, that's the very first idea we have to steal from them.
Well, I say, thank you for the first impressions you've been giving us here. And what I'm taking away from it, one of the major things is that we've got a lot of people moving quite quickly past us, and how do we grab them off that ice system and get them into town?
you got the jewels in the crown. You got the jewels to attract them.
No.
You got to get them here.
We have where we've had 4 farmers markets so far this year. We started the 1st of May, and we have 63 vendors signed up. They come from 27 different cities from around the state here, and we have room for a lot more. And today, in talking to the customers, we had people from Florida, we had people from Michigan, we had people from over on Lake Michigan, but they're here because they have children here, and so they've come here to visit. And then they come down to the market, and they love the market, and they had good things to say about the market. But how do we pull the people off the interstate? And I know in the last couple of years, we've pulled people who've pulled in, saw the market sign that was just sitting in the street, and came side of the street and came down to see the market. And they were from Minneapolis, headed for Milwaukee, or they were from one was from Duluth, headed for Chicago, and they just took a rest break off the interstate, ended up buying a few things from the artisan farmers market. To capture that in a bigger way, and then to capture that more importantly, for the business community, sounds like a real focal point that we should be pushing our city forward on.
Yeah, we as far as, you noticed our zoning is quite chaotic.
Stressed.
We thought your zoning was very well planned out. We have a problem in Prairie du Chien with trailer courts being plopped on major highways, and we had to really struggle to find yours. We knew you had one somewhere, but we found it, but it was tactfully, we found the one right off the bat I think by the industrial park you had one. That was the one but they were done tastefully. They were melded well with the neighborhood. We don't have that. We have the exact opposite. We were kind of curious about the zoning, though. As I mentioned, there seems to be the highway, green space, then Lake Mills. You're not up against the highway. Are you encouraging development to get you up to that highway so that when people are driving, especially at night, I don't know how they, with all the trees in the summer, are going to see the lights of Lake Mills, and then until they're past that turnoff. But are you encouraging growth up to that highway? Are you encouraging?
Golden Arches.
Okay.
That's what
Well, and you're looking at the same dichotomy that you have in your neighborhood. You're looking at the township
Yep.
as it abuts the city. Many of those properties that are.
We didn't know if Lake Mill, do you go right up to the highway? Do you not? Okay.
We go over the highway.
We jaggle
Okay.
around there between the city and the town.
Okay.
And traditionally, that was area that was in the township. And it's the same in your city,
Yep.
you're jangling around Highway 35 the same way we are. I made comments last week about how we need to cooperate, and I think we're on the road to cooperating a little bit better. As we lose property in the township, we're going to lose tax base, but for the good of Lake Mills, for the city as an entirety. It's difficult.
Can you run for office in 2 different jurisdictions?
This is a difficult thing.
I know. I
It's
just
a
read
very
today in the
difficult thing.
lacrosse is calling for a summit of the town, the cities, and all that because they're having a terrible problem in that region with
and
lack of
How are you
intergovernmental
going to get along?
cooperation.
I mean, everywhere you look, Aaron, everywhere you look, there's going to be a how to cooperate better between municipalities. Everywhere you look, there's a workshop about this. How the heck are we going to get it done?
The one issue that I do want to bring up that's a misstatement is that we have a contract for 20 years that says the town will receive the taxes that they were receiving off that annexed property for 20 years. So technically, they haven't lost any.
Right.
And those 20 years are dripping away quickly, but we're going to have to figure out a way to work together, just as you are. Your new hospital is in the township.
No, it's
Oh,
not.
no,
It
you
annexed into the
annexed
city
Yeah,
and
they
started
annexed
World
it.
War III.
Ouch, ouch.
They
But, you know,
gave them the
we have
Walmart
those
for a
same
hospital.
conflicts that we have,
Yep.
that are property and turf related, But as we grow, we're gonna need to cooperate more closely. I think we've made some strides. Boy, oh boy, have we made some strides. We've ridden together twice to a meeting. I mean, it's been
But learn,
really a good thing.
learn
for all
from,
of us.
I guess if you will learn from one mistake we made, not we, but our city made. You said you saw a lot of the larger homes out in the township, and about 25 years ago, the city provided water and sewer to the neighboring township without requiring annexation in an effort to draw the Walmart to the community. Got the Walmart, it stayed in the township, and I have virtually all the growth has been in the township.
Well,
Everything.
and you have a unique geographical situation because you're up against the bluffs, you've got the river, you've got the railroad, you've got your downtown. It's a different scenario than it is here. But as we grow, boy, we're gonna need to work together more on municipal services. We all heard, we need to work together to get more we need money for roadways if our infrastructure isn't gonna crumble. We need to treat our sewage so it doesn't contaminate what we love and live in. And we're gonna need to work together in utilities. That's just the way it's gonna be. And we made some big strides. Hooray for first impressions. I'm a little sick of you guys, and I bet you're a little sick of us.
Well, one correction on our part, we don't get a lot of snakes and critters coming out of the bluff. You made the comment at the meeting, and the people in Prairie said, snakes and critters coming out of the bluffs.
Heard a lot of-
It only
heard a lot of
happens in
snake
dry
stories.
fall months when there's no food up in the bluffs.
Well,
and they
we
come
have
down
a
to the city.
monster that's coming out of the lake, so look out.
We heard that too. He's looking
Big
for a
Nessie.
beer. He can't find the
Big
brewery
Nessie coming
either.
out of the lake.
Rocky.
Rocky, since the 1800s, he's been showing up.
I personally have gained a whole heck of a lot from this program. It's
Last
been a
slide,
lot of
Robert.
work, and I
Last
compliment
slide.
each of you guys for helping us, because we really have spent a lot of
Oh,
time.
that was our impression of your city hall. Okay, just-
Josh Hall, very good.
It's been referred to as.
And that's the real.
Yeah.
We've touched on
Yeah,
this.
we
too.
touched on the chamber
Just
and
done a
the,
lot of that stuff, yep.
I think we've touched on the infrastructure.
We all felt the need for some new signage. Suppose
Yeah.
we're gonna raise money. You know, the one
We
thing
thought
we
this
didn't,
community screamed for bike trails, pedestrian infrastructure, tie into the lake, network, a lake trail would be great. Even going as far as connecting with Madison. I mean, these bikers, we're finding this out, bike all over the place. Parks, public access, golf course. We were obviously not here at night. We took comments from your retail district. We were told that young people go to Madison if they want to do something.
Right.
I'm obviously not young.
you're not,
I'm obviously not young.
you're not.
You go to soccer games.
We do have a good number of retirees in our community. You bet.
Yeah.
And that was the impression we got, was this was a good place if you want to retire. No crime, there's some, but mainly, quiet. But again, struggling, where do you want to be? Do you want to be that vibrant on the interstate community, or do you want to be that quieter, spend those golden years and your disposable income here in Lake Mills, and let the people at work leave during the day?
Walking paths and biking and.
Right. I noticed that you were, and I think we mentioned that some of your newer subdivisions were putting in
Right.
walking
And
paths or
biking.
bike trails or
Got to
something.
make sure we have all paths lead to the brewery,
Please do.
Yes, that would help.
I actually do, eventually.
Even maybe something out on the interstate, electronic, computerized, that
Because of our proximity to Trek Bicycle up here in Waterloo, we get a lot of bike excursions, making a stop through our community on a regular basis. So we work on drawing those folks in, putting our best foot forward there, and hoping they'll come back in their automobiles or at a later date
their
as well. Yeah, right.
that's good.
Okay, next one. This is sort of a summary statement of everything that we put together. We liked the location, the quiet retreat. It seemed to have services. Yeah, you didn't have the big box stores, but they weren't, an hour away. Again, a little, are you going to market to the interstate crowd? Are you going to market to the retirement crowd? Are you growing, which direction are you trying to grow? How do you incorporate the lake into all of this growth? And I don't want that to sound derogatory, because to me that's exciting, because it gives you a lot of challenges, and it's kind of like going to a buffet. You can't eat everything. God, you'd like to, but you can't. I mean, so you got to pick and choose what's going to give you the best, what's going to fill your tummy at the end of the day.
Yep.
Is the last slide the one that's... There were some obstacles. That is not somebody driving through our new roundabout. The housing market seemed to be a little frothy, just based on the numbers, a little pricey. It was kind of, we saw some of the growth in that. This could be supply and demand. This could be you're filling that retirement or that golden years crowd that can't afford. They've got the investment capital to be able to purchase these homes.
Well, that is a challenge that we face because if it hasn't changed, correct me, Steve, but we have the highest per capita income in Jefferson County.
You do.
The
We
highest
researched
real
that.
estate
Yep.
price tag in Jefferson County.
Assessed
As a retiree on a fixed income, that suddenly becomes a very negative situation living in this town.
Which, when we crunched the numbers before we came here, I thought, well, that's interesting. If they kind of are a retirement committee, those numbers don't, A plus B plus C didn't equal D in that model, because B and C didn't match A. But again, how do you address that? That's your
Right, and
challenge?
the problem we got. I mean,
That's a
this is where,
rhetorical question for you, but how do you
The husband can
challenge?
go towards Milwaukee, the wife can go towards Madison, vice versa for their jobs. They have a great income, a white collar probably income that allows them to be able to purchase a home in Lake Mills. And then they reach retirement age and now what, kind of thing.
We're moving to Prairie du Chien. What the heck?
Well, that was my first impression.
Do you want to talk about the part-time chamber? I guess, what was the message? I mean, was it,
I guess, like I said earlier, if the chamber is closed, if no one's there to greet individuals who are looking for any of your businesses, and if you're out of the office or busy, I think that just sends the wrong message. It would be great somehow, some way, if you could actually find enough revenue to actually have her in the office full-time from May 1st, maybe to the end of October, just to cover those needs. I think that would be a huge benefit. And I think that would send a positive message to the chamber businesses in Lake Mills that somebody is there in a full-time.
I think we've touched on the opportunities throughout the course of our presentation. I think nothing in our strengths here list you have not heard before. As far as the tower, the green space, the library really sends a clear message of pride and investment. We like the old charm of the churches and their other historical buildings. And you've blended that well, because sometimes in communities it doesn't blend well. It actually draws attention because it's placed near something that is not older, and it kind of, the contrast is too stark. And I said, everybody was friendly and knowledgeable. You have a lot of frontline ambassadors that are doing a good job of promoting Lake Mills, and not just their own businesses. Everybody seemed to know places to eat and had more than one suggestion, which was nice. I like that. We have different options.
The other strength that's not on there, obviously, is your school system. You have a very good school.
Which obviously doesn't get you the retirement crowd, but you mentioned the husband works in Milwaukee, the wife works in Madison. If they have 3 kids, that's going to be a good selling point. You've got a school district that promotes. It's a horn. You need to toot that horn too.
Which brings a question. With that scenario, do you have a lot of daycare centers around here? I mean,
We have a few,
do
yeah.
you have a
Right.
few?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of in-house too.
There's one larger one in the industrial park, right on the edge of it, and there are a couple of them.
So chocolate, daycare. Okay, that's
The one thing I'll comment on is again, the retirement group can be very diverse. So there are people who can retire and afford to spend a lot of money in that time period, and so that if you're building $1.5 million home, you're buying a $500,000 home on the lake, tearing it down and building $1.5 million home, you probably got some money to retire with.
Yeah, they don't work for the chamber, that's for sure.
We'd like some of the people who, I'd like to see some of the people who have lived on the lake, maybe had a home and decide to sell it. I'd like to see them personally maybe have someplace to go on our lake, maybe a condo or something like that. Maybe if there could be some sort of development to where we could put retirees, have retirees feel comfortable and be in a community. I think from a developmental standpoint, that's a dream that I have, I'd like to see. I don't have the money to do it, honey, but
Zoning, zoning,
Hey,
zoning,
I
zoning,
work in the
zoning.
Main Street program.
Zoning and planning.
That certainly is an opportunity
it is.
to have some, you
It
know.
is. It's a dream. It's a dream,
Sure.
but she'll shoot it down. Hope will, so it doesn't
Zoning,
matter.
zoning, zoning.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Nag, nag, nag.
There is one item in the report which we saved to the very end because we thought it might rub some people the wrong way.
We were driving through town and we saw this, I guess it's a mural on the side of one of your buildings. And I thought maybe it was a deserted building, because that's usually in our town if they decide. So we were very surprised to find that, no, it just.
It was on the Century,
on the
Century store,
Century
right?
grocery, yeah.
Yeah, we thought it was graffiti.
It is
And
graffiti.
We had to pull right up to it to realize what it said. And coming from a town with a lot of train traffic, it looked eerily similar to the train graffiti.
And they now have that as
Right
a
to
new
the
art
trains.
form. It's a recognized art form. And it came
But it
off,
just
it
looked-
came off of the train cars originally.
Okay, it
But
just
it's now
looked-
recognized.
It looked out of
art
place.
form.
It just didn't seem that was the spot that, and it just, we,
However, we drove up to it, so maybe it isn't.
oh yeah, we pulled right up to it. Virtually had the bumper, and I said, Linda, I think I see letters in there.
You noticed it.
We noticed it, but,
So there you go.
okay. No, I will kind of sum up a report with this. Bob last week after your presentation said, what are we going to say in Lake Mills? What are we going to say? And I said, I think we'll say one sentence and we'll walk out. We'll say, we were very impressed by your community. In fact, I was so impressed. When you're in the market for another city administrator, I have business cards. Okay? When you're ready to retire, Steve. No. No, that was our impression. This was a good exercise for us. You planted some seeds and I've gotten some feedback and some calls. Unfortunately, the feedback has been, Aaron, what are we going to do? Aaron, what are you going to do? Aaron, what's the city council going to do? But those are important, and we hope we planted a couple of seeds here.
That really
bloom.
speaks to the next steps. There's no doubt about it. That's pretty good. It's we went through this one other time. Our UW Extension person, Steve Grabo, has offered to facilitate a meeting, a kind of a wider meeting, maybe of the community leaders, people who want to come in, listen to what you've had to say about us, and maybe listen to a little bit of our experience of going to Prairie du Chien and seeing your community through the eyes of a first-time visitor. It's our communities, I think, we're two kind of diverse communities, very dissimilar to a certain extent from each other, but we found a lot of similarities, didn't we?
We found a lot of ideas. Just that trip on November 11th, we came away with, we're diverse, but some of the same problems, we're facing. I mean, I looked at your city budget and I came back to city, I said, to spend that on capital, I would give anything to have that capital budget. How do we get there? And obviously, we got to make a commitment to, and that kind of spurred our discussion at the budget time to invest more in the capital. Came away with the reuse of the buildings. We've had discussions at our level. We knew the signage was coming. We understand you're going to have a major road project here in a couple of years. We've offered our services
Well,
because.
that's the one thing we really didn't discuss, and that's the one thing that I took home mostly from you guys was how you prepared for the construction on 35. When we were there in September, you were right in the middle of it.
If you get one thing out of that, it is you cannot expect the city to do it. You can't expect the chamber to do it. If they don't work together, it's not going to work. The first time we sat down with the DOT, I think you were at that meeting, they showed us the detour route and said, here's the detour route, our best engineers designed it, and for 4 months we're going to route all traffic away from Prairie du Chien. And you literally heard every one of us go, not a chance. And we fought and actually got those detour routes to come through the city, and the DOT looked at us and said, fine, you do the signage. You think you know what's better, and we pulled it off.
And they did it. You guys did it.
We did
and
not
we found
see-
our way.
Yep.
And it was painful.
Yeah.
And I think that the ideas that we took home from you, the block captain idea, working closely with the DOT, working on
Get your school district in right away to get the bus routes
school
all
district,
figured out. That
working
was
on the
huge for us.
signage and working on the different aspects of the signage. I think those are all things that are going to pay us back in 2018 if we live that long.
6 hour, you know, we had the 1 day rule. If a business called, had a complaint, concern, issue, somebody from either the city, the DOT, or from the chamber was there, either in person or via phone by the end of the day to respond to that. You know, we had little protocols. We really can't tell if it was successful other than talking to merchants, they saw a dip in sales. But in October, my city clerk came in and said, I've got the third quarter room tax. And I went, oh, God. How bad? She goes, we set a record. I said, how did we set a record? We had a $13 million road project rip the guts out of the city of Prairie du Chien. She goes, we set a record. We got the people into Prairie du Chien and moved through Prairie. I think we were all shocked by that, but it worked.
I just want to say, before we end, but you need to start early. And I also think that you need to actually have a conversation with your chamber director to actually meet regularly with your members. The only way that I know that this process was successful is I did not have a single member come to me and say, what did the chamber do for me during this project?
Because they knew what you did for
Yes,
them.
they were all on board. They knew exactly what I did. We met regularly. We had the block captains. And I think because we were proactive instead of reactive, I didn't lose any chamber members. I gained members. And I think that's going to be the plus that you need to do.
And embrace social media. Our Facebook went from 1,000 likes to 2,500 during the course of the project, especially for people that were out of town and not in Prairie du Chien and they want to know if certain streets are being closed. They could go on our Facebook page before they came home. And they knew if there were detour routes. And I think you've got that with a lot of.
They could tell that you were involved
Yeah.
and evidently weren't intimidated because they came.
Yeah. Well, we were scared every day. We never knew what we were going to run into. But, you know. So we will be here when you have that come because it is kind of scary. And believe me, one day you'll wake up like I did on May 3rd last year and go, my God, today's the day that they break ground. Oh, no. And cancel all your summer vacations.
Well, do I understand that you still have more construction to come, correct?
This is actually a 3-phase, $32 million project. Phase 1 was 2014, Phase 2 is 2017, Phase 3 is 2021. And it will essentially redo the entire center of the city, assuming the state has the money. That's
Well,
not too certain.
You've been through one fire so far, and now it's time to go through 2 more fiery hoops,
But
right?
you learn from that.
As
You
you
learn
go
from
through
each
it.
phase.
And
Oh,
we
you-
really appreciate the offer of the insight that you can help us with. We're on a little smaller scale than you are, but still same basic tenets, aren't they?
And nobody's mentioned roundabouts, right?
No, we're not having any of those.
And again, thank you for the invite, because we've already had the initial, well, here's your detour, and it's like, oh, we can take the detour and see Prairie du Chien on the way, you know. You
Ours
know.
was go way up into the hills and look at the
Yeah.
apple orchards where nobody lives,
No,
and the
so-
semi-truck drivers would have gone ballistic, so.
So shutting down the city is exactly, as you said, exactly what the DOT has suggested
your
to
heels
us,
in.
and it's like, no, that can't happen. So we've already stepped into the first hoop.
Dig your heels in.
Can we
You
take some
gotta fight for your business people.
Anybody have any questions?
Things I was surprised at is there was no comment about the south end of town coming in. It's really not very attractive.
No, it's not. We did,
It's in the report.
Didn't make any comment in regard to that side of town, which I think we should have.
I did see that on one of their slides. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, could you comment on that?
Yeah, I know it was in comment on it. To me, the other thing is, the industrial park in this community, to me, is tucked in an area that's hard to get to. Trucks coming in, truck routes coming in, limiting where trucks can come, would be another reason why somebody might not go in there. First impression on fishing, is somebody said, thought it was November, where are you gonna get the boats in the right, in the fishing time? I'd like to know where it is in the summer. Harlow's Beach used to do that. But there was not a lot of boat rentals. There's not a lot of fishing things going on here, so it doesn't really matter when the season is. Also, as a person up in the years and retiring, I have the luxury to live on the lake. There's no place for me to go to be retired here on the lake and have a view. And so the question becomes, where do you go? And the answer is, I tell my friends from North Carolina, probably Arizona, probably some other place. What's happening is we lose some income. We love Lake Wilson. We will stay in it. And there could be a problem with access now to get boats, but there's places zone that. And the last comment is, I think the interchange thing is excellent. I commend all of you for your time and what you did. I used to be involved in education. I used to have this non-movable process, and everybody wrote stuff on the wall and you put it in a roll, and it got stuck somewhere. So the question really comes, there's some really great opportunities here to do some things in the city. If we can't afford a full-time chamber person, why does a person have to be paid? If we have hours where a person is normally paid and does a good job, why aren't we utilizing somebody from the schools? Students are good ambassadors. And having them man a phone and be present or to do something to represent the city. And to do something, and there's ways we can attempt to do it. So I'm really more, I want the input, I'm looking for what the action plan is. And what the priorities are going to be. I don't know who brings that back.
Well, there's going to be after this is all done, as I was saying, Mr. Grabo is going to facilitate a meeting of anyone who wants to come. We'll put the pieces, big Post-it notes on the wall, just like you were talking about. I'm not sure where it'll be. It might be here, it might be someplace else, might Selgin, depending upon how many we get involved. But that's the time to begin to develop solutions or action plans, committees, people to get involved. And I'm really glad to hear that you volunteered, John. Thank you.
Is that when you have those roads and you tear that road up, and you impact the business. Everybody who works for the government, you get paid no matter what the hell happens to that. The business people don't. If your income was based on having to have that road shut down and survive, and if you can't survive, like Cambridge, I think, has some issues, how do you come back and keep what Katy and Main Street and everybody's done so far to make us vibrant? And so if we don't control the DNR, and we don't control the things that are here with roads, and let them know what we want to have, and not capitulate, we're gonna have a problem. And I really commend you guys for not being a speed bump on that. You really took control of something that can devastate a community in your model. I think it's just something that really has to be taken a look at.
And it really showed in our visit when we were there as well. Really did.
Randy, I want to, you'd mentioned earlier about the follow-up meeting and what we were going to do and, bringing in the UW extension person and having Steve facilitate. That is, for the listening audience, open to every citizen and every community member that lives outside our city boundaries. It's open
City,
for the
township.
entire community, everyone in the community. It's not
Everybody
just the
who's
business
within
owners, it's not just city government. It is every person who lives in this entire geographic area of Lake Mills. And as you were pointing out, John, I may not live on the street being tore up, but the street being tore up does affect me, and I should get interested and get involved, if, at the minimum, to get educated and come to that meeting.
Steve facilitated the meeting 14 years ago with the Random Lake results, and he's done this many times for many communities here in our county. So, we're looking forward to that and looking forward to the input from people in our community and surrounding area. And we're just, I think I said it to your reporter from the radio station. He asked for a comment from me, and I said, people in Lake Mills are going to need to look inside of themselves and say, how involved do I want to get? Do I want to be a part of helping Lake Mills grow, taking these wonderful comments that you've shared with us, and maybe turning them into reality, promoting our community, getting better at responding to business requests, the Chamber of Commerce issue, taking a look at some areas that might need attention that you noticed with the eyes of a first-time visitor. There's so many different issues that we can now extract from this and put them down on paper and do something about it. That's the beauty of this first impressions exercise that we've gone through together. But if you take those things to heart that can be changed, that can be dealt with, that can be made better, you just started a $3 million library. Not as a result of our library, I realize, but certainly there was an inducement there. So that's what it's all about. And on behalf of, I think, our team and our city government and everybody who's been here tonight and everybody out there, thanks very much, Prairie du Chien, for coming. We take our hats off to you. And I think there are a couple of homemade cookies left over there if anybody's interested.
Taken.
Thanks again. Anything else?
Thanks, you guys.
Now, we have to adjourn our meeting.
Actually, yeah, and I too, I want to thank you for the time and effort you put in. I mean, it's not often you get the chance to get a real true first impression. I thank you for being open and honest, giving us some things to look at. We know what we're doing right and what we need to work on. So thank you for your time. I want to thank all the people from our community who love this city and put their time in. And, you know, I think I'd be mistaken if I didn't say thank you to the business owners and employees you met downtown that obviously made a great impression. So I want to thank them as well. And, yeah, if there's no other questions, we're adjourned.